Hello, I am Reed Rampinelli, joined by LeBlanc. This is Hootie's Hot Seat.
Today we're joined by Esports coach Noah Drouin. How you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So let's go back to your roots a little bit. Does your love of video games stem from a young age, or was this just something you picked up at an older age and you realized you had a talent for coaching?
Definitely a young age. The way I like to tell the story is I had the cool parents who got themselves an Xbox for Christmas, for each other. And so I was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and they would stay in and play the original Xbox, and they'd give me a controller and let me pretend that I was playing, and I didn't know the difference. So my love of video games started really young. Played a lot of different series over the years. Like I played a lot of like Madden and stuff growing up, and then got into like shooters when I was in high school, and like RPGs and stuff like that. So I've played all different kinds of games, but it's really been a lifelong thing for me at this point.
So what would you say your favorite game is that the esports team plays here at Keene State?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, so right now we've got Super Smash Brothers, Rocket League, and Overwatch. Definitely Overwatch, Overwatch 2 as it's called now. That's the game that I call like my top favorite game of all time. I have a lot of time into that game, and really wanted to make sure when I came into Keene State, that was a title that we went right in with. 100% my favorite.
So you talk about Overwatch as being like your favorite game of all time. Are there games that you had growing up that you would also consider your favorite games? Just throughout the timeline, what would be your favorite games you've ever played?
There's a few that come to mind. I grew up playing Pokemon. I mentioned RPGs a second ago, like when I was growing up, but Pokemon is definitely one of them. The whole franchise as a whole, and then Skyrim's another big one. A lot of people, have a lot of love for that game. I've played a bit of Skyrim myself, quite a bit of it over the years, and then some games that come to mind growing up that I still have a fondness for are like the Tony Hawk games. Played a lot of Tony Hawk when I was growing up, and then I also need to shout out Simpsons Hit and Run. That's a cult classic in my opinion. A lot of people love that game. That's probably top 3 for me as well. So that's what comes to mind right away.
Now I know it's the esports team first season, but do you plan on to add more games in the future and more players?
Yeah. The plan is pretty like rapid expansion for the program from the offset coming in. We started with 3 titles. We have 19 total student athletes right now. One of my big responsibilities within my position is that I'm charged to bring in, a recruitment class every year, like every other athletics coach, and make sure that we're bringing new blood into the program every year to kind of elevate it, keep it thriving, and kind of just make sure we always have teams available. We're looking to bring on new student athletes every year for sure. And then we're currently in those 3 games that I mentioned before, but we're going to be adding Valorant in the fall, which is a very popular title, one of the top esports titles in the world, and a lot of students have emailed me wondering why we don't already have it. So we're going to move that direction and add Valorant in the fall, 100%.
So the 2000s were kind of like a gold age for video games, from Shadow of the Colossus to Grand Theft Auto 4. To new games that are coming out, like you said, Overwatch 2 and stuff that just has a lot more time put into it. As a professional, how do you feel that games have kind of moved away from something for kids into something more of an art form in today's culture?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. It's wonderful to see that video games has become less of like a niche thing, or maybe like a subcategory of people participate in them in some way. I think now, especially as we head into the 2020s, things are a lot more mainstream and accessible for more people. A lot of games are free to play and or are like live service, so to speak. So games come out and they're kept alive for a very long time, which I think is great to have more people have the opportunity to play games that maybe wouldn't have before. As someone who's been playing games myself my whole life, it's been really great to see it just become more socially accepted. So then you talk about an art form sort of thing. It's pretty great what technology is able to allow people to create nowadays, where you can create games that take hundreds of hours to complete with a million different ways to play it. Everybody that plays a game, so a game that comes to mind is Skyrim. I mentioned before that game came out quite a while ago, but people have every time they play it do something different in that game and get something different out of it. So it's been great to see my biggest lifelong passion and now profession be more socially relevant and accepted going into where we are now.
Now, how would you describe esports to someone who doesn't really know much about esports?
I've had to do that a couple of times in the last couple of months. The way I like to describe it, it's kind of like any other athletic program or sport where you are competing in something with a team and in trying to win. Like you play flag football with your friends, for example. That's like something that you do casually, but you're still playing something with the purpose of winning or hope to win. And so it's kind of like that with esports. And so like one of the ways I like to describe it for people that maybe don't fully understand esports is, or maybe are questioning why we do esports. For example, it's like, why is the NFL so popular? Why don't you just go outside and throw a football? But it's not one-to-one. You like to watch football because you want to see the best do it, and you want to cheer for a team and have that camaraderie with people. And so when I frame it within not only the industry that's booming right now, as we kind of just mentioned, but like now coming into the collegiate sense, we have esports as an option for student athletes to take a hobby and compete and take that further than they would have before. And we also get to do that with the Owls, backing us and have that sort of camaraderie for the whole campus. So it's a kind of a long-winded answer, but that's where I would start. It's like it's legitimate and it's very popular and it's the direction Keene State's going, and I'm glad that they did.
What are some pros and cons at the moment of being the Keene State esports coach, especially it being so early into your career?
Yeah. I guess we'll start with the cons. There aren't many. I had to think about that a little bit. I think the biggest con is just the tasks that needed to be completed, between my start date of late November and where we are now. It definitely took a lot of long hours and, research and collaboration with other folks. So there was quite a long list of tasks to accomplish to get to where we are, having started competing just a few weeks ago. And that's really the only con I can think of, because like the pro that comes to mind right away is that this is a dream position for me. I'm a Keene State alum, graduated twice here with my bachelor's and master's. So to be able to come back and do something I couldn't have done as a student it's really very humbling, because if I was a student and esports was a thing when I went to Keene State College, I would have been all over it. And so that's one of the biggest pros. And then the second is to be able to challenge myself in a way that I was not necessarily expecting, in terms of all of the things that go behind the scenes. Like esports itself within my position is not just like we're sitting down and playing games. I'm doing advertisement and running broadcasts every 3 times a week, and recruiting new students from across the world really at this point. So there's a lot of things that I have been needing to learn and or improve on in this position to do it, to the best of my abilities, which I've appreciated.
Now, you say you were running broadcasts for the school. Where do the team play matches at?
Yeah, so we have a brand new esports facility in the Commons, on the bottom floor in the classroom area. So we compete within that facility for all 3 of our titles, and then the arena, so to speak, we compete online through the NACE Star League, which is a collegiate esports conference, so to speak. It's a governing body. So we physically are in a room together at all times when we're competing, when we're practicing, and then our opponents we're connecting to online.
So the school actually put together, as you said, an actual room for you guys to have matches at and for you guys to practice. How does it feel to have the support of the school behind you that much?
Yeah, it's incredible. That's one of the things that you're not always so sure about when it comes to this kind of work in the industry. I mentioned earlier, like I'm thankful that esports itself has become more mainstream. Gaming itself has become more mainstream. But when it comes to the competition side of it, I wasn't too sure on if we'd be able to get the crowd behind us and or get the engagement that I was maybe looking for a brand new program. I know the administration was behind it, and that's why this program was funded, but there was kind of a question mark going into the season of like, are we going to have the student body coming in to our Twitch streams, engaging with us and things like that. But it's been overwhelmingly positive from the student body side. I've had faculty and staff alike at this institution also email me with questions, come and actually drop by the facility because I basically work out of there. So it feels very, very encouraging. And those that maybe don't know so much about esports are less skeptical and more willing to learn, which has been really, really wonderful.
So how many games do you have on the schedule, and when is your next game for esports?
Yeah, so we, every season, and so seasons are broken up into fall and spring. So we're in the spring semester, our launch semester. Within the league we play in, all of our titles compete 7 times per season, once weekly. And so we have 21 total games for the spring semester. I think we've competed in 11 so far, so we're about halfway through now. Our next game is actually tonight at the time of recording, Thursday, 7 p.m. Our Smash Brothers team is competing. And then Rocket League and Overwatch compete Mondays and Tuesdays every week as well. So we have that regular cadence every single week. But the next game is in just a few hours, actually.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Hootie's Hot Seat, and thank you for joining us, Noah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah,
for
good luck
having
tonight
me.
as well.
Appreciate it.